Welcome to the Kelly Lundberg Podcast, where in this episode, it's a solo one, and I'm going to be talking about the power of podcasting for your personal brand. Well, in this setup, I have come a long way since I launched my very first podcast, Would You Believe, back in 2012. So it's so funny that that's where it started. And you know what? Even then, I thought I was late to the game to start podcasting back then. And I think if I just continued it, where would I be now? So that original podcast that I had was called Where Catapult Meets Commerce. And all episodes were done over Skype. We didn't have fabulous studio setups like we have here now. And the whole purpose of me doing that podcast at that time was when I was wearing my celebrity styling hat. I had this fabulous opportunity to meet fashion designers, product-based business owners who were all fashion and business related, hence the name, Where Catapult Meets Commerce. And it was a really powerful podcast for me to be able to network and market my business and what I do beyond just offering styling sessions with clients. I did nearly 50 episodes, and there was a number of things that I learned during that I've improved since I've launched the new one, Kelly Lundberg Podcast. 50 episodes. I stopped doing it primarily because it was incredibly time consuming. And it was time consuming because, to start with, I was doing a lot of the edits myself because I didn't have the budget to outsource it. So that's something to consider. There's so many benefits, but you have to consider there is an investment in your time. It's one of the reasons now why I batch content. So I make sure when I'm recording in studio that I have a number of guests and I do it on one particular day, and that's a half day out of my month. So that's something to bear in mind there. Fast forward to 2019, that's when I launched the Kelly Lundberg Podcast. And one of the things why did I pick it back up again was I felt, especially as I was building my personal brand, it's a real opportunity for people to listen to your voice. Podcasting is an opportunity where you're in really close proximity to someone. They are listening while they're on their errands, while they're cooking, while they're working out, and they're wanting to learn something, but you're in their ears. And there's something captivating about having an audience that want to learn something from you that maybe aren't necessarily ready to buy your product or service right now, but are really enjoying what you're offering. And at some point when the time is right for them, the product or the timing or what you're offering will be perfect for them. When it comes to personal branding, a podcast can help you in a couple of ways. First of all, if you don't have a personal brand, it can really start to put you on the map. It gives you content that you can repurpose and allows you to connect. If you're doing interviews with people, learn from other people and leverage from their networks as well. But also, if you're an established person and you already have a personal brand, what it can do is take your personal brand visibility to the next level. And this was where I was at. I didn't have a podcast. I was creating very consistent content on social media, but I wanted to add something else into it, an opportunity for me to share my knowledge, attract new clients, but also grow my visibility through other networks as well. And this is the thing, generating original, unique content on a regular basis really helps establish your expertise and using your voice. Remember, you're in the ears of most people who are listening to this, maybe on their earphones, to connect with people in a really personable way. The average time people spend listening to a podcast can be 30 minutes, can be an hour, where they're really consumed with what you're saying. And this builds likability. This can build trust into them wanting to do business with you, hire you, or learn from you more in the future. When it comes to someone buying your product or service, they talk about the marketing rule of 7. And it states that potential clients need to hear your message or hear you or see you, so that visibility piece, at least 7 times before they maybe buy something from you. So podcasting is a great way to do that because there's few things more personable or more personal than listening to the human voice. And podcasting for personal branding, it really creates this intimate connection with your audience because your listeners get to feel like they connect with you and that they know you or know you really personally. Important things when it comes to creating a podcast, and I've got some plans written down here that I want to share with you. It's really clear that you get understanding on what your niche is. And I've tried a number of different ways to connect with people, but the clearer you are on your niche and having that golden thread, that North Star that you can always relate back to, really helps you stay on track. So when I had my first podcast, where Catapult Meets Commerce, it was really clear that it was anyone that was fashion related within the fashion business and strategies on how you can grow your business within fashion. So now I'm really focused on clients when I do interviews or those that are coming on board with me for a podcast, that they're talking about some aspect of personal branding, given that that's the industry that I'm in. So it's important when it comes to what kind of podcast that you're going to create. You have a few things that you consider before you just go out there and create a podcast. And I've learned a lot over the years. It's been 10 years since I started my first one, things that work and things that don't. So first of all, I want you to get really clear on what is your niche. What's the reason for you doing the podcast? Because it's great to sit down and talk, but you need a common theme or a golden thread or a North Star that you can keep relating back to as to why people want to listen to your podcast, because it's competitive out there and people are going to spend time listening to you. They want to know why and what they can learn from you. So in my first podcast, it was Where Catapult Meets Commerce. It was always about people in the fashion industry. It was about how to grow a business within the fashion industry. Now, where I have guests, it's about personal branding. I want to hear about strategies that have helped them build their business, maybe using their personal brand. And then the solo episodes, I always want to bring an element of personal branding and growing your visibility and credibility. Podcasting, has helped me not only generate content, it's great for social media, it's great for connecting with people and inviting them on that, but having compelling and engaging stories, that's the piece that I love, the engaging stories where people can learn. It can also really help with your public speaking. So a lot of people say to me, Kelly, what did you do to get better at public speaking? Or how do I become as good at you at public speaking? And here's the thing, it is practice. I've said I've been doing podcasts for over 10 years. Public speaking, it is all a skill. And podcasting can really help you with that skill, especially when you can say the word. Moving online or moving into a studio rather than online has also really helped elevate the visibility of my personal brand. But when I first started out, I didn't have the budget. First of all, I was using Skype 10 years ago. But latterly, I started using a really useful platform called Riverside. And that allowed me to get high quality video content that I could use on social media, that I could also put on YouTube as well. So think about what allows you within your budget, but also what can you move into as your podcast grows as well. You'll learn how to structure episodes. And here's the thing about structuring episodes really helps with you as a public speaker, but to develop intriguing narratives and how to capture your audience attention. I think the key piece though is about being real. Nobody's perfect. I'm far from perfect. And I think the more that you share, I messed up this, or I spoiled this word, or I didn't get it quite right, is okay, because it just makes us human. And this is the piece about bringing podcasting and conversations together. It's all about humanizing what you do and humanizing your personal brand. You've got communication skills, so learning from people, listening. Wow, this has been a big thing. Listening to people, what they're saying, and then being able to take what they're saying and turn that into a question. That's been a big test for me latterly. And when you're doing it where you've got no video, you can have tons of notes in front of you. It's really easy. But doing it on video takes a new skill set of being able to take, okay, this is where they're going with this conversation. I want to drive it back to this. How can I link both of these together so that it sounds still seamless as well? Podcasting, I believe, is a huge way to really help build your personal brand and elevate your credibility. A few tips for you. Here's 8 when you want to get your podcasting plan together. So first of all, think about what is the goal that you want to achieve with your podcast. Then I want you to think about what is the theme of your podcast, that golden thread, the North Star that will keep your audience engaged. Decide on what type of format that you're going. So are you having interviews? Is it thought leadership? Is it solo episodes? Is it fun with your spouse? Can be anything, but once you decide, trial it and see how you enjoy doing it. Do you need to change it? What do you need to improve? Write your intro and outro, something that can be consistently played at the start and at the end of your podcast. Make sure that you have 5 or 6 episodes created before you launch, because a lot of people start with great momentum and then it just falls off. So make sure that you've always got podcasting episodes in the bank. Create an email template for you to send to clients, something that's really clear. What are the expectations? If it's scripted, what questions are you going to be asking them? Something that's really simple for them to be able to follow and get in touch if they've got any problems in contacting you on the day. And you want to look at getting a really nicely designed podcast cover. This is something that's going to stay with you, at least to start with. This is going to be recognition. This is going to build your credibility. So this is all part of your personal brand process. That cover is really, really important. And the last thing I'm going to say is consistency and discipline. Maintaining a podcast, as I said in the very beginning, demands your time. It demands consistency, and you really need to plan ahead. So whether it's getting guests in, make sure the dates are booked in advance, batching your content, all helps with you creating a very personable, and when you start getting the downloads in and building that personal brand, profitable personal brand. Until next time, see you later.